Hi, I'm Cristina Capretta, and I guest hosted the Innovator's Mindset podcast, where I talked to George about his new book, Forward Together: Moving Schools from Conflict to Community in Contentious Times. What stood out to me is how it made me think about my own experiences and gave me a whole new perspective on some of them. You're going to hear me share some of my stories, as well as some of the questions that came to mind as I read and enjoyed George's book. This is Cristina Capretta, and this is the Innovators Mindset Podcast.
There you go.
Did it.
You did it. We're guest host. Guest host.
We're back. We're back.
We're back. Well, thanks for guest hosting, Cristina. So we talk. I know you're the first time doing this, and so this is I've asked Cristina to guest host this podcast. She has actually had a chance to read my latest book, Forward Together: Moving Schools from Conflict to Community During Contentious Times. And I asked her to read it, ask me some questions. So I don't know the questions. And that's it. I just want to tell people that's what's going on. So I will turn it over to you, Cristina. I'm a little freaked out because I don't know what you're going to ask me. So I'm excited about it. Right? So
is it a bad time to tell you I prefer audiobooks?
It is a bad time.
Yeah,
Hey, if you want, I can do a pod. I'll just sit and read it for you. I was thinking about doing an audio version of this too, because at some point I hope someone wants that. But
you should. With having a podcast, people will love to, I'm sure, to listen.
We'll see how it goes when the print version comes out. So, but I'm turning it over to you. This is all you now, Cristina. So,
all right. Well, first, I appreciate the opportunity to get a little advanced preview of your book. I was excited. I feel privileged that you asked me. And I think, first of all, I think we see schools very much the same.
We do.
Like, we do. From reading your whole book, I'm like, okay, we think very much alike. So, schools are where people are trying, learning, adjusting their human voices, human relationships. And you can't move anything, let alone humans, forward until you build connection before correction. So, I really liked a lot of what you wrote because, like I said, I already think very much like you. So it made me feel like all the things I was reading, like these are things that good leaders should already know, right? So, essential message that I took away is that, leaders can't just ask people to trust the process. They have to involve people in it,
Mhm.
help them see themselves as essential to the story. So, all of these things, all these principles in your book are things like I already believe, and I think they're things critical to what I even do as a school communicator. So, it's actually my job to stress how important people are in sharing our district's story. So, quick story before I ask you the
Love it.
question. Here's something that happened at my district this year. My superintendent and I built our opening convocation around our portrait of a Titan. So that's also mentioned in your book, portrait of a leader, portrait of a graduate. So our 6 competencies, we want every student in our district adaptable, innovative, empathetic, leader, critical thinker, communicator. So for our opening conversation, all the slides showed photos of our staff modeling those traits. We want our kids to possess those qualities and traits. So we're going to show off our staff with concrete examples of the way they possess them and model them. So for example, during last school year, we had a principal leave in the middle of the year. So, cool. Thanks a lot. But so we showed a picture of the team of administrators who stepped in and they kept the school running. They kept things going. That's adaptability. They were incredibly adaptable. So we get to the slide about communicator. We showed our bus drivers and how they intentionally made stronger efforts to connect with their riders. We also featured a high school teacher and an elementary teacher. They created a pen pal program. So we had high school students writing back and forth with our elementary students, and they eventually got to meet in person. Like amazing, amazing
Mhm.
examples of how our staff are modeling those competencies. So, but what I didn't know is overnight, my superintendent slid in an extra slide. It was photos of just me about my role,
Huh.
how important communication is, and how critical storytelling is. And that the entire room, all staff, everyone in the room, like you are a storyteller, you
Mhm.
are a communicator. But here's the thing, my superintendent has emphasized how important storytelling is before. She talked about it at other meetings. She sent emails about it. She encouraged people to share their classroom wins. But George, something shifted when she did this. So, like, staff have helped me tell her story more than any other year I've worked in this district. And I know we've had this conversation
Yeah.
before. Like, when teachers see other teachers kind of getting recognized, they're sharing the good news out of their classroom, it creates that ripple effect. Like, wait a minute, like, I have good things happening in my classroom too. So when I come back to your quote, you can feel ready to lead, but are you someone worth following?
Mhm.
So my superintendent didn't just tell us to be storytellers. She showed us that she was someone worth following by modeling what she was asking to do.
Right.
She was standing up there in front of all staff. She looked inward, recognized the work that was happening around her, and she elevated it. So all of those slides were stories about our staff. She was being a storyteller. So now, here's my question. After all that, what's the key difference between a leader who's ready to lead and one who actually moves people to follow? Like, especially when you're asking them to do
Hmm.
something they've resisted before.
I think your superintendent did it very well. Is really, and it's one of the concepts I talk about in the book, is that when you actually have the spotlight on you, your goal is to turn the spotlight onto everyone else. And your work, and one of the reasons I asked you to have one of these conversations with me is because you work in communications, and a lot of the opportunities and some of the obstacles come out of the communications department. And I'll give you an example of something I've seen before, is that, hey, we're communications. Everything has to be vetted through us. Like, we are the only people who can tell the story. So we're going to capture, a couple of, people, and probably going to share the same people over and over again. And then people just kind of know where you're going to go. Whereas I think what really is powerful in the story that you just shared, and really connects to a lot of the themes in the book, is really empowering people to see they are crucial to telling that story. And I don't even think it's just telling that story, and it's one of the concepts I talk about. It's creating the story together and then telling it, because I don't think you want to tell a story that's terrible, but also I don't want to tell a story that I don't feel like I have any part of. And one of the quotes that I use, and I just find it fascinating, that of the book where I got it from, it's The AI Driven Leader by Jeff Woods. And he talks about authorship as ownership. And my best leader ever, her name is Kelly Wilkins. I've literally written a book about her and just her impact on me. One of the things she did so well was, as a teacher, she made me feel that my impact was not just on my classroom, which is huge, even if it's just on my classroom, but it's on other classrooms. It's on, what's happening. So when I share, that helps the teacher across the way.
Hmm.
And you felt you wanted the school to do well as a whole, not just your classroom, because of that ownership that was authentic. It wasn't just like a thing. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to empower you, but also everything has to go through us because, like, you're adults, but we don't really trust you, that kind of thing. It was really kind of that process. So when I hear that story, I think that's the process, is that people feel more a part of it. And it's interesting, I think, and this is one of the concepts I talk about, is that when you focus on the 80% that are really excited about things, and then we have the 20% who aren't. But a lot of people focus on the 20%. When you focus on the 80%, they get the 20% excited. And I think that's one of the shifts too, because I'm sure that not everyone was sharing immediately in your schools. But what probably happened was people saw their colleagues doing it, and they're like, maybe I need to get going on this too. It wasn't just your superintendent who was
Hmm.
leading the way. It's your superintendent truly passing ownership to others, and then they're excited, and then their excitement goes through the organization. Just like as the opposite, when we have negativity, that spreads as well. And my thing is, like, which one do you want to spread? Like, not positive, fake positivity, but truly like, hey, here's great things happening. And I think that's part of the creation, is that sometimes it's like, that is really good, I need to pick it up a little bit too. So I think that creates a better school. So I think that's an amazing connection to what I'm talking about. And I love what your superintendent is doing. So that was really powerful, what you just shared.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, public education is really under attack right now. So,
Yeah.
and she stresses, how important it is for us
Yep.
to tell our story. And then once people saw other people doing it, because we use a platform to do it, so it all goes through a certain platform, then it kind of funnels through me and
Yep.
kind of proofread things, and
Uh-oh.
then it'll get posted
Right,
online.
right,
And so now people are like, oh my gosh, I want an account now too. So,
right.
and we've had this platform. This is, I think, our second or third year we've
Mhm.
had it, and now it's just exploded. Like it's just amazing. Like people finally, it's clicking. People get it. And I don't, I want to say it's because she was up there and she was being a storyteller, so hopefully that is what happened.
Yeah, and like I think there's two parts to that process because there's always the branding. I know that's kind of something that you're focused on, but it's such a secondary thing for me, right? Because you can say your school's awesome, but if my kid comes home and said it sucked, I don't care. But hey, on Twitter, someone said it's awesome, so I'm
Hmm.
gonna believe that. No, I want to hear that too. So I think that, like I said, the branding, the storytelling to like communicate what's going on in schools is can be helpful, but the main focus is I actually want those stories to get across the hall. And I think
Right.
that's a lot of times is that so often in education we work in isolation. We don't even know what's going on because we don't have time. We don't have time to walk across the hall because who's looking after the kids? Who's looking after these students? So I think that also elevates everyone. Like, I saw this is happening and maybe he has some different conversations. So I love that you're really empowering that because I think I don't like again, I don't think it's just about telling a story. It's about actually making a better version of it together. And I think that's a huge premise of the book.
Absolutely.
We
All
do
right,
think alike. I can tell this book changed your life, and I appreciate that.
it did. It really did. Like you have no
Whatever.
idea.
Whatever.
All right. You have a chapter called Somebody Hates You.
Uh
And believe it or not, George, I have haters.
oh. That's better than what I thought you were going to say because I thought you were going to say, believe it or not, I hate you, George. So that's a way,
That would have been
I'm
so
way
much
more
better.
comfortable that somebody hates you than you telling me you hate me on
That,
the recording.
oh, that would have been
Missed
so much better.
opportunity.
Such a missed opportunity. Okay, but I have to say, so the only haters that I have ever run into, and you might have, this is maybe something that have happened to you too, but it's those who punch a clock. I've found those
Hmm.
are my haters. So because what do they see? They see me come and go, my door closed when I'm
Right.
not there, and have zero clue to my actual daily schedule. If I'm out in the schools,
Right.
I'm not here in my office all day long. What they don't see is that I've written crisis communications in late night hours,
Right.
in early morning hours, head full of shampoo and a towel, like jumped out of the shower. I've sent files to people while standing in line with my family on vacation.
Yep.
I've done work from the back of a car while at my kid's soccer game. But here's my hater story. So I
I love
I
this.
left early,
I feel
3:30
this is like
p.m.
reverse therapy, what's going on right now.
No, it's a good
Yeah.
story. It's a
No, I
good
love it. No, I love it. Here's
So
my
left
hater.
early,
Here's my hater story.
3:30 p.m. on a Friday one day, half hour. I
Yep.
usually leave at 4, their normal time is 4. So after a full day of sitting on interviews to hire a new HR director at the time, I was in the parking lot, got in my car, received a text from my coworker. The text said, Christina must have had a grueling day. It was a text about me
Right.
accidentally sent to me. So I immediately knew who it was meant to go to. Like it was someone who was sitting on that interview team with me. So what did I do in that situation? Walked right back in the building, straight to that person's office,
You.
stood in the doorway, and said, Hi, is there a problem? And that person acted like she didn't know what I was referring to. So I said, You sent a text about me accidentally to me. So then she claimed it wasn't about me and it was about the other
Mm.
Christina that works in the
Right.
office. However,
Did she spell
I
your
don't
name
have
with no H?
I don't have an H in my name.
Yeah.
She spelled it correctly. So I just said, okay. I left. I
Yeah.
went on my way. I gave her that opportunity to be accountable, and she chose,
Yeah.
dig that
You gotcha.
hole. And she did end up apologizing to me on Monday, right? So, and what she didn't know, and I didn't tell her, like, I left early to go to a wake. Like, she didn't know where I was going.
Right.
She only saw that I left early. She didn't care about the reason. She didn't want to see the brown M&Ms, the
Right.
details,
Oh,
she
there you
didn't care.
go.
So this was a couple years ago, right?
Teaser
And
of the book right there.
right. So do I like that person today? Not really, but I still have to work with her,
Right.
but here's the thing. So not liking somebody is never a good excuse for making yourself less likable. Like I
Yeah,
can
that's fair.
still work absolutely effectively with someone I particularly don't like. So here comes the question. How do you invite productive face-to-face challenges when the strategic nature of someone like me in communications and someone in leadership, when that work means much of what we do is
Yeah.
invisible? Like what it's invisible, it can be confidential, it's happening at odd hours. So how do we build like challenge me in the room culture
Right.
when you have people judging what they see without understanding what they don't see?
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I talked about in the book is you're always going to get challenged, right? You're always going to get challenged. What you want is that it happens to you, not behind your
Hmm.
back, because then you can't address it, and then that starts to fester, that starts to spread. And I think what you did was really powerful, and it doesn't mean that you're going to have a great relationship moving forward, but at least there's understanding. Like this is not okay. What just happened here,
Right.
and it was interesting because it really there was something that happened to me similar, but I'm the person texting, right? So I'm the bad guy in this
Yeah.
situation, and I remember actually, in interestingly enough, the guy and I are very good friends to this day, and I was teaching and I was coaching basketball at the time. And when I was coaching basketball, volleyball season kind of overlapped. And the further volleyball teams would go, the basketball was kind of the secondary thing, right? So I remember his volleyball team actually made playoffs, and it was kind of a shock. Like it was a big upset. And I had practice, we just kind of assuming they're going to lose. I remember having practice at 5 p.m. And then because they won, I got bumped to 7. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be here all night, and to 5. So I remember complaining about him in the staff room and saying, like, I'm so mad about this. Like, this is not okay. You can't just bump me. Like, I have a life, blah, blah, blah. And probably about 5 minutes later, he came up to me. I'll say his name. His name is Riley. And he said to me, were you complaining about me in the staff room? I was like, I was.
Yeah.
He's like, if you have an issue with me, you tell me straight to my face, but do not talk behind my back. And I was like, you're right. And that was it. Like that was it. And he didn't like give me the silent treatment when we walked down the hall. And that was something that was very early in my career. And I think one of the things I do in the book is I share a lot of these stories that here's how I screwed up, here's kind of how it like informed me and some of the practice, because I think it's easier to point at yourself than it's other people.
Hmm.
But it was something in my leadership is that when you have an issue, the best way to deal with it is to deal with it, not to like pretend it doesn't exist, not to ignore it, because then small things become huge things. And that is where that happens, right? And so you have to address these things because there's a lot of there's a lot of bullying in schools, and I'm not talking kids,
Absolutely.
I'm talking the adults, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so I think people, this is one of the things that people have appreciated about the book is that I'm being honest. I was like, oh no, everyone's saying no, that's not true. And so you have to have these conversations, and it doesn't mean there's always going to be personalities that you don't mesh with. And you're referring, the literal title of the chapter is Somebody Hates You. And it's basically saying no matter who you are and how good you are, there's a couple reasons why people will hate you. They think you're bad at your job, or they hate how good you are at your job, right? And,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't mean either is accurate, to be honest with you. And
Right.
you have that too. And so you do have to address this. But again, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, I spend my time on the majority of that too, and of the people that are really excited about that too, because we get so caught up in that, and it weighs on us and stuff like that too. And there's just way more, and it's a little bit human nature. you crush a session at a conference. You get 100 participants giving you feedback, and one says something that you don't like, and you're just
And
like,
that's the
ah,
one you
yeah, and
focus
you're
on.
like,
Yep.
so that's what you pay attention to, as opposed to, and it's not like you should ever take criticism. That's
Right.
not the point of the book at all. In fact, it invites it. That is like, hey, like push back on some of the stuff that I'm saying. So I always try to be very proactive with that. It's like, hey, if there's something I have an issue with, one of the things I used to say in my school all the time, I cannot fix problems I do not know
I don't
exist.
know. Yeah.
So tell me if there's an issue, tell me, and then I will do my best to remedy it. But don't talk behind my back about it because it will only get worse. I've always said this: you can complain about a problem all you want, but when you're done complaining, it's still a problem.
Hmm.
Only action creates solutions. So that I think that's kind of where I go with that too. So I appreciate your. I love that you're sharing your stories with this too. So I wasn't expecting this, but I like the build up.
Well, it's when I was reading your book and I'm like, okay, I can relate to this because I have a situation that happened to me or situations I've been involved in that your book made me think of. And I think that's going to happen for a lot of
Yeah.
people. They're going to think of, wow, somebody does kind of hate me too.
That is hilarious that you said that because it's probably about like four people who've already read the book. They like, yeah, that like that's exactly what they started doing. It's not like they're
That
not
one,
focused on me. They're like, somebody does. Oh, that person does kind of hate me.
yeah, that one kind of hit hard. I'm like, oh, I guess
Yeah,
I do have
that,
haters.
yeah. That was hope. I had a conversation with someone who just read my book today. She's a superintendent. She's incredible, and I won't share who it is, but she had some adversity, and what I've seen from her, because she had adversity from, I think it was maybe a board member, right? She is so poured into everyone else that it was like made her kind of, I don't want to say untouchable, but like close to invincible as possible. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Hmm.
you just focus on the people, pour into the people that pour into you, and
Yeah.
it kind
Like
of
the
takes care of that stuff.
80/20. The 80
Totally,
20.
totally.
Like 80% of
Yep.
people are probably going to be, you got to surround yourself with the right people and you can't just listen to you can't be around, like, you're going to have negative people everywhere. There's going to be negative teachers. You try to say like, hey, we're gonna be doing this now.
Yeah.
You're gonna have the handful or like, oh, like another new thing. It's all about, creating that buy-in and creating, just working together, finding your
Yeah.
people and finding the ones who can encourage the other ones. Like you're gonna always gonna have the negative ones.
and
But,
and I think, Christina, what really matters is that maybe some people are hearing this, and I do talk about this explicitly in the book. It's not like we're just focusing on the positive people that like us. It
right.
is understanding that people that are really doing a great job typically want to get mentored and get better. And I think they get ignored way too often, where they start feeling like I'm doing a great job and no attention is paid to me and I want to get better. I know so many people who have left organizations because they felt like they were not growing anymore. They like
Mhm.
outgrew the leadership because the leadership was not pouring into them. And so that's something that really matters to me is you want, and people talk about this all the time. A lot of times people that really do well in their jobs are punished for doing well. Like they get more responsibility, they get more added onto their plate having that issue. And so it's not just like, hey, just focus on everyone that loves you. It's like, hey, there's some people that are doing really well. Make sure that you continue to grow them. One of my big like red flag comments is when someone says, hey, when I ask them, hey, how's your principal? And they're like, oh, they let me do whatever I want. I'm like, oh, that's not good. That's not good because it's like, what's the point? Right?
Right.
What's the point? Like,
Right.
and it's
Where's
not.
that goal? Where's that
I don't
direction?
want micromanaging. I understand
Yeah.
that too, and this finding that balance where you want people to really kind of just go into new spaces, try different things, but they should. If you're a really great leader, people should be better because of your leadership. It's not you are just at the same place because of it too. So I think that matters too to kind of grow into that.
And you made me think of another story in your book. Like, you should be a leader where you create a culture where people should feel comfortable celebrating themselves. Like
Totally.
your story where you started the round of applause for yourself. like you should be able to celebrate your wins.
Right.
Like if you, I don't know, like that's some of the things, like I post a lot, I have a lot of thoughts. I post a lot of different things on LinkedIn, but I do share some of my wins because where
Yep.
else am I going to share them? Like I'm proud of some of the things I've accomplished and I'm proud of some of, the work that I do and I want to share it. Like I should not feel uncomfortable sharing that.
No, I actually should. So here's why you should, because it's only up until you're about 15, 16 years old that you should be proud of yourself. But once you're an adult, stop that. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm like joking,
When does that
obviously.
stop? When
I'm
does that stop? Like,
because what do
where
we
does
tell
it?
kids? You should be proud of yourself. You should be
Yes,
proud of what you did. And it's like, quit bragging. It's like, no,
right.
I'm very proud that I did this. I will tell you, and maybe I'm bragging right now. All of the feedback on the book has been amazing, and weirdly enough, uh, it's freaking me out a little bit. It's like, oh, like, because I felt really good when it came out. Like when I wrote it and I was like done, I was like, I feel like I have something, because it was just so easy to write, because it's like
Right.
I don't try to write a book just to try to write a book. It's like something triggers, and like I talk about like what actually inspired
Hmm.
the book in the end. There's kind of like you. It's like, oh, maybe I don't want to get too excited, you know. So that's where, like, I think we're kind of conditioned as adults not to celebrate our wins, whereas teachers of kids are like, celebrate your wins, right? I remember
Right.
actually side story. I remember like a Twitter troll, like, who's in education, which is like horrible. That's how you treat other people, because what are you doing to kids in classrooms? They were like, oh, they're just saying stuff to me, and I'm thinking, if I was your student, you'd be so proud of me. But because I wasn't your student, now I'm like, because I know like a lot of my teachers, my kindergarten teacher, like, just commented on something I posted, just saying how proud she is of me, which I was in kindergarten 45 years ago. So, right, tells you something there. So, love that.
All right. So next question or next story, I should say.
Is this last question? Or is
You
this
said
three?
there's a bonus.
Okay,
There's a
three and a
it's
bonus. Three and a bonus.
three and a
I
bonus.
love it.
So this is all about, I titled this The Weight and the Worth. So I appreciated, very much appreciated your acknowledgement, like that our plates are full. And I love the way that you framed it, like in schools, like they're not just plates, like they're platters. Like
Right.
they are overflowing.
It's a
So
Greek. It's a Greek restaurant thing. It
yeah,
made sense to
we're
me.
spinning, we're throwing.
Right. Yeah.
As a school communicator, so like one day, and this is true, like one day I'm announcing a student got a full ride to Stanford,
Yeah.
or I'm celebrating a state champion athlete. The next day, I could be notifying the community of a family that just had a house fire or a
Right.
student death. We are like not just school communicators, like school leaders too. We are constantly shifting between joy and heartbreak while trying to hold a community together through both. Like
Right.
it's a lot. And what I appreciated is that your book doesn't pretend the work ever gets any easier.
Right.
It shows how connection like makes getting through that possible. So when people see themselves in a story, the work feels shared. When they feel valued, conversations change. When leaders admit their own mistakes or missteps and mistakes, it opens a door like everyone else feels
Mm.
like they can breathe. Like, look, like this leader is admitting like they're not perfect.
Right.
Like, okay, it's okay to, make mistakes. It's okay to be flawed. But I think you like the message is kind of simple. Like moving a school community forward, it's not about perfection, it's about humanity. And I talk about humanity a lot, like especially like in the age of AI. And again, I think we very much think alike. You shared about the bottle of water. And I love
Right.
that meme
Right. The
where
analogy.
50 cent, yeah, 50 cents at Costco, $10 at an airport. So the bottle doesn't change, the environment does. So, and you say, when you feel like you are worth nothing and everything around you belittles you, change places. Don't stay there.
Mm.
So, I am one of the lucky ones in school PR. Like, I'm on my
Okay.
executive team, other people call it cabinet, whatever. I'm involved. Like, I'm involved in major decisions. I'm kept in the loop. But in school PR roles, like I have witnessed a lot of my colleagues, like they spend a lot of time fighting for that seat at the table, like
Right.
constantly proving their value, explaining why they belong, like why they need to know things. And, like when I read your book, like sometimes the problem isn't your value, it's the room you're in.
Hmm.
So,
Totally.
how do you know when it's time to stop fighting for a seat at the table that doesn't value you and find another room? And more importantly, how do you maintain your humanity and stay connected to the work, like that joy and that heartbreak,
Hmm.
when you're in that in-between space of knowing you might need to leave, but maybe
Hmm.
you're not quite ready yet?
I gotta ask you about this part of,
Okay.
that writing this. I think you kind of mentioned this too. Um, I I am very proud that I wrote that in the book because there is not many education books is like, listen, if you don't feel appreciated, go.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and I talked about, that experience happening to me. I talked about, there's like a, I don't know if you remember it. There's like a pig farm story here,
Yes. The
right?
smell.
Yeah. Don't get used to the smell is
Right.
the thing, right? Because I don't want to share that story because I'm going to save that, for people to read the book. But it is like sometimes you just get so, you don't even notice it's bad anymore. And I'll give you like, maybe this analogy is a little bit off. Uh, for people that know me, I lost a significant amount of weight in 2020, and I've kept it off. It was about 120 pounds, and this is like when I was 45. And a lot of the stuff that was going on with me was like I'm always sore, my knees are sore, and I'm like I'm just getting older. But it was really I was like so out of shape, I was so unhealthy. And what is really fascinating is what I felt like. Here's the thing I do now. I eat very, very healthy, except for about 1 or 2 days a week. And those 1 or 2 days a week I don't eat healthy, I feel like crap the next day.
Yeah.
And what I started to realize is I used to feel like crap all the time, but I didn't know. Does that make sense? It's just like
Hmm.
that's how I felt. And I think part of it is you sometimes have to step out of yourself and talk to yourself like here's like a really big truth, and I guarantee because I know you somewhat well. I know you do this, and I know I do this. Sometimes we are the best at giving advice to other people, but then we don't take it
We
ourselves.
don't follow it
No, it's
ourselves.
like when that same
Oh,
thing
no, it is.
happens. I think that is a thing. Is that you have to learn to step out of your. I remember having a conversation, and this is like super personal, about a breakup, and I was very upset about it. I remember telling the story to someone who was a mentor of mine in education. Like, talk about she appreciated me that she could hear someone because she knew that personal was affecting my professional. And I remember telling her the story, and it was like my body left me and was listening to me. And they're like, why are you so hung up on this? And I was like, why am I hung up on this? And it was just like snapped. And you got to try to figure out sometimes, like, would you be okay with someone you cared about going through what you're going through? And you have to learn to step outside yourself and ask that question because you get used to it. You just kind of think
Hmm.
that's how it is, all schools. And uh, in What Makes a Great Principal, I start the book talking about a friend of mine who basically said schools don't need principals, and I'm a principal, so I'm like kind of mad about it. And I remember calling him and said, first of all, it's a very offensive article, and do you know why you think that? Is because you've never had a good principal, so you just think that's how it is. And a couple years later, he went to a different school. He's like, "You were right. Like my principal is
Hmm.
amazing." And so it is, you just get caught up and you think that's how it is because you know your experience. But you
Right.
have to learn to step out of that. So that's how I do it. And I know it's kind of, saying step out of your side of yourself kind of feels like spiritual or whatever. Maybe that's not the best way to frame it. It is talk to yourself and take the advice that you'd give a friend. That to me is, would you be okay with your friend talking about that? Talk about your experience. And sometimes just talking to someone else. There's so many times where I have an issue and I talk to somebody and they don't solve it. Me hearing me tell the story is like, oh boy, this is, I got to get out of this. So I think that's the best advice
So
I can give.
come to us for advice. We give great advice.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
don't necessarily follow it ourselves.
Okay, like let's do bonus question.
Bonus? Okay.
That's all I got. It's the best one I got.
You don't have that. Brr, brr, brr,
Oh,
brr,
today.
brr.
Okay, you got it. Bonus question. Let's go.
There we go.
My special request. I'll take it. All right. Bonus
Okay.
question.
So I very much like how you reframe the phrase AI won't replace you, but a
Right.
teacher using AI will. So first of all, I despise
I
that
despise
saying
it.
that AI won't replace you, someone using AI will. Hate that, despise. So, but I like how you turned it into something more possibility focused. So technology will never replace great teachers, but technology in the hands of a great teacher can be transformational. So absolutely agree with that shift, like from fear to possibility.
Yeah.
But I want to push back on something.
Ooh.
Because just using AI is not the differentiator.
No.
So, and I think that gets lost. So AI doesn't make you transformational any more than owning a piano makes you a musician, right? So you can still be a great teacher or school communicator
Yep.
without AI, period. But if you learn to use it in meaningful ways, which means, staying curious about what it can and can't do,
Hmm.
questioning the output instead of just accepting it, being genuinely skeptical of what it generates,
Right.
and maintaining your voice and strategic judgment. Like that is where it's transformational. The tool isn't the differentiator. It's the how the human is using it.
Right.
There's a false binary, like either you're an AI person or you're going to be left behind.
Yep.
Like you have to use it thoughtfully. You can't let it replace your thinking. You have to use it to extend your capacity while keeping your judgment,
Yep.
your community knowledge. Like you know things about your community AI doesn't know. And you got to keep your voice at the center. So in school communications and as school leaders, like I said, like our value is we know our community. We
Right.
know what stories need to be told. We know how they need to be framed. We know who needs to hear it first and what the ripple effects are going to be. So AI can't do any of that. So only we
Mhm.
can. So AI can help us do things maybe better in some aspects, but we have to approach it with
Right.
the right thoughtful mindset.
Where's I agree with you. Where's the
There's no
pushback?
question. That was just my little pushback. I actually didn't have a question. That was just my bonus. Like you brought up AI, and I kind of in the
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time just working with AI and
Yep.
figuring out ways, like learning about as much about it as
Yeah.
possible.
So and I there's no pushback because I agree with you 100%. Because like that statement, like you know, you don't have to use technology if you're a great teacher, but like if you are a great teacher and you use technology, it can transform things. But you do have to be a great teacher for that to actually happen, right? I don't
Yeah.
think it takes. I don't think. I don't think I'd say like, hey, you could be a bad teacher, but with technology, you could be a great one, right?
Right.
That's not
Yeah.
the focus. It's like the
Yeah.
practice really
You
matters.
can do it without
Yeah.
it. You can do it without it. It's how you use it. Like just because you are using it,
Yeah.
you could be using it completely the wrong way. You could be using it and getting,
Totally.
it hallucinates. It could give you like terrible outputs. It could give you bad information. You have to be super strategic in how you use it.
Yeah, even and I talked about the what I coined the teacher paradox is like about how basically when I go speak, the measure is, hey, I want a bunch of stuff I could do Monday, but also don't you dare tell me what to do. It's like
Right.
tell me exactly what to do, but don't you dare tell me what to do. So I actually 100% one of the things that I talk about when I work with groups is listen, I'm just sharing some ideas with you. You're the experts. And in fact, I don't know your community the way you do. I don't know your context. I don't know where you've been. I don't know where you want to go. So my hope is you take my ideas and then you figure out how they work for you and you mold them. But I'm not the expert. And I think it's interesting because you can actually, when you approach things that way, you can kind of feel there's like a like,
Hmm.
I have talked about kind of working with some of the, your community in PR. And I would never say like, this is how you should do your job. That's not my approach. It's like, hey, here's some things that have worked for me. Here's some ideas. But, where you live, in this state versus this country versus here versus there. I don't know the context. I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you're up against. I don't know how you're doing that. You have to kind of figure this out. And I think people appreciate that. First of all, they're honored for their ability, but also that you trust them to find their own way. And you're kind of giving maybe some inspiration, some ideas. That really matters to me. And you kind of brought this up, and this is going to date me. I remember Khan Academy coming out, and it was like new, and people were terrified. They're like, oh, "This is going to replace teachers," and I'm looking at them like, "Not me.
Right.
I do not
Right.
teach that way." And so, could I see it as a beneficial supplement? 100%. But I don't teach like that. That's that's, and I don't want to say like old school is a bad way, but if that's not how I teach, and there's way more to the artistry and humanity of teaching than can be communicated in a Khan Academy video. So I think, but when you hear about like, if you don't use this, this is coming along, you're freaking people out. When people say to me, listen, you need to use AI because this is not going away. I'm like, that's a terrible, I don't like that argument, right?
I don't
It
like
is
that
like,
phrase either. Well, it's not going
hey,
anywhere.
here's AI. Here's some of the things that really could be beneficial. If you
Right.
like, now I see something there. It's not like, oh, I gotta be freaked out. It's I'm sure you know this. If it bleeds, it leads, right? Like that
Yeah.
whole like, let's freak people out. And yeah, you can get people to maybe try some stuff, but they're gonna hate you while they're doing it, right? They're gonna be kind of mad about it. I want people to like be excited about something, be that opportunity. So Christina's network went down right at the end of this podcast. But I just wanted to say I was really appreciative. I wanted Christina to close the podcast. I'm trying something different. This is something that I haven't, it's just an idea. I would love to hear people's perspectives of the books and maybe turn the tables, ask me some of the things that stuck out and resonate with them. So it was a really cool experience to actually do this with Christina. And a lot of times when I talk about innovation, people think it's about technology, but it's just about rethinking how we do things. So I just want to thank Cristina for being on the podcast. I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you check out the book. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for all you do. Have a wonderful day. Take care.